a song called Monday, but now we're going to do one called Going On.
Milan and Joe Brolly to help us with the task. They've already had a busy day in Croke Park. Desi, we're going to ask you to name the goalkeeper of the year.
Went with Brendan Keeley. Made a good save today against Bernard Brogan, but I think the standout save was the Mark Bradley one, Tyrone, a very crucial save. But overall, I think he gave some excellent displays in the goal for Kerry, and very consistent.
So his shot stopping wins it for him. All right then, Tomas, will you give us the full back line of the year?
I will, Des. We went for Shane Enright, Kerry, cornerback. Your typical dog who'd actually stick into a guy and would cancel out a fella. He had a tremendous couple of years. You know, I think he's highly underrated. I've seen him play. I've seen him in close quarters. He's a hardy boy up in Tarbert. So we went for Rory O'Carroll at full-back. I think, you know, one of the Dublin players who is completely vital for them. I think he's possibly one of their key guys. You know, you talk to Dublin players off the field and they say this is a guy that makes them tick always. You know, he's a great year. Every time he plays, there's a solidity back there that isn't, you know. And we went for Philly McMahon, a great guy, you know. When he's coming in for a lot of heat this year, but who wouldn't want a guy like this in your team? Tough guy, uncompromising, great at going forward, great at marking, uncompromising. Brilliant year by him today, or all year. So that's our full back line. All right, 2 dubs in the full back line. Colin, the half back line.
Well, we started off here with Lee Keegan from Mayo at right half back. Lee had again a great year, and I suppose maybe in some ways was remembered more for missing that chance against Dublin when they were 4 points up. But that it would be very unfair to remember for that, because again, another outstanding year for him, both in defence and attack. And centre back then, Cian O'Sullivan. I suppose when you look back on the shambles that the Dublin defence was in August last year, and
3 of them already.
And the dog from Kerry.
Well, Lassie's coming up. But anyway, we went for Cian O'Sullivan again. I thought he brought the stability and the discipline and order and structure to a Dublin defence for the first time, and they were absolutely watertight today. And again, more problems for Tomas. Left half back, Jack McCaffrey, again had an outstanding year both in defence and attack. We always looked on him, I think, up until now as a sort of an out-and-out attacker. Huge pace, but this year he added defence to it. Was a bit off colour today. I think he was sick, but again had an outstanding game until he was substituted.
Right, OK then. That brings us to midfield, Kieran.
Yeah, midfield wasn't easy. A lot of contenders. The first spot in midfield goes to Anthony Marr. You know, top possessions today on the Kerry side, was influential in the first half. Had a huge Munster final as well when he negated Alan O'Connor's influence, and very good against Kildare and Tyrone. So he's the first nomination in midfield. With him is a clubmate of mine, Brian Fenton.
This is a group selection, not yours individually.
Absolutely, not my selection, but he grew into this Dublin team as the year went on. Started out playing Sigerson this year, young kid, 22 years of age, and written off, I suppose, against a big midfield coming into today's game, but he stood tall and had a huge game and deserved it.
It's good to see a proper footballer from Raheny.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Oh, he's fat. Kelly.
The vulgar Kerry fathers, pals.
An ounce of breeding is better than a ton of feeding.
Yeah. What about the half-forward line, pal?
Well, we talk a bit of liberty here, but we've chosen Matty Donnelly because Matty Donnelly of Tyrone, I think he was Tyrone's best player all year. But he epitomises all that's great about Tyrone players. You know, comfortable on the ball, quick hands, intelligent players. He can play as a sweeper. He was brilliant at midfield, playing as a link man, and he can pop up and attack. So Matty Donnelly, right half forward.
Centre forward?
Well, centre forward, I mean, bear in mind that this man missed all of last year's championship because of a cruciate ligament injury, and he's just bounced back to unbelievable form this year. He's been a revelation in Dublin's forward line, Kieran Kilkenny. Second best forward, I think, probably after Bernard Brogan. Scored 18 points in this year's championship. Didn't score today, but had the highest number of possessions of any Dublin player with 18. Superb performer, strong, hard-running, and an excellent point scorer.
And left half forward?
Well, I think, you know, it's been a travesty of justice down through the years that this man has never got an All-Star, Donncha Walsh, because he has a Rolls-Royce of an engine. His work rate is unbelievable. Didn't have a great game today. It's quite interesting, the stats of Donncha Walsh is during a game, he averages 13k. during a game of 70 minutes. Bear in mind that last year, the highest stats in terms of distance covered in the Premiership was a guy called George Boyd of Burnley, whose average was 12k in a game. So this is some engine this fella has, and if this fella doesn't get an All-Star this year, it'll be a joke.
I remember Pat giving out about those GPS a couple of years ago. Now he's up to date with modern stats.
Yeah.
I could get Donegal place in the Burnley team.
That's the
full forward line.
He's listened carefully to the other analysts.
Not you, anyway.
You don't say a word to him before you come on air. And he repeats it, Joe, definitively.
Joe, you say it best when you say it. Nothing at all.
Oh.
Anyway.
Romantic stuff. Kev, how are you, Kevin?
I'm good.
Are you comfortable there?
Yeah, well, no. In a word.
Your full forward line.
Well, there was a lot of debate about all the lines, but I think the full forward line, we all settled on that reasonably quickly. Conor McManus gets right full. Didn't matter who they put on him, double-teamed him, treble-teamed him. He led from the front. He was, to me, one of the star footballers in the country this year. Absolutely outstanding, and captained them to a super Ulster Championship. At full forward, we went for Mayo's Aidan O'Shea. At one stage, he threatened to take over the championship, and I'm not being parochial in saying that. He really did, certainly in Connacht when they played Donegal. And then the double teaming and treble teaming of the semi-finals when that came up. Like, it's hard. This is the way the game is. And he didn't flourish as much, but still had an outstanding year and deserves his slot there at 14, in my opinion. And then in the other corner, this was a tap-in for us. Bernard Brogan, 621, 620 from play. Now, that to me is the stat of the year in terms of scoring. That is outrageous scoring. He's a great player. I love watching him. He knows where the goals are, both feet. Right. You don't offer him two chances. Marvellous player, marvellous player.
All right, well, let's have a look then at our team displayed. And we have, 7 Dublin players. We have 4 from Kerry, 2 from Mayo, 1 from Tyrone and 1 from Monaghan. Joe Brawley, what are your reflections on it?
Well, I think in a way we're sort of employing a language that's out of date now, you know, to look at modern football. You know, teams nowadays, it's not like picking a team from whenever I was playing or Colin was playing. I mean, for example, I think you'd have to say that one of the crucial rules nowadays is sweeping. The best sweeper in the country this year was Colin Kavanagh. His job was to prevent goals. Tyrone conceded 1 goal, a volley against Donegal early on, and since then nothing. Kerry didn't even try to score a goal, didn't even attempt to come into that area because of his excellence. So, I mean, I would have had Kavanagh on the team.
Who else is unlucky?
Another problem that you have nowadays is that, so you look at Aidan O'Shea, people say, oh, well, he flopped in the semi-final. Well, he was treble marked and sometimes marked by 4 players. Michael Murphy is routinely marked by 3-4 players nowadays. I mean, it is inexplicable to me that he's not on the team that's been selected because, I mean, he's so dominant. He's the Roy Keane of Donegal. He scored 8 points. Hold on. He scored 8 points against Mayo. 8 points, 4 from play, 4 from free. You know what O'Rourke says? You know what O'Rourke says? You know what O'Rourke says? O'Rourke says, but what else did he do? He scored 8 points. I mean, he wrecked Galway. Hold on. He wrecked Galway, for example. He was utterly dominant.
I take your point.
But he was also utterly dominant through a very gruelling Ulster campaign.
What about
who else? I think that Michael Murphy. No,
yeah. I mean, obviously, I agree.
Of course, he could have voted for him if he showed up at the meeting. He could have voted for him.
He didn't turn up for the meeting. That's the
Goodbye, Joe.
I do think that it is right that it's very, very difficult. I mean, we were saying this today after the game. It's very difficult to pick out men of the match any longer because of the way teams play, because of the formulaic approach to the game.
I think Joe's point is absolutely valid because we've gone to matches all year. There's very little individualism anymore. There are very few outstanding individual efforts.
Patterns and structures.
Absolutely. And
overall contribution.
In today's game, there was about 10 fellas played well, but there wasn't one outstanding player.
Okay. Well, this is going to be interesting now because, Joe, you will have the deciding vote, first of all. No, not the deciding, the last vote. It could be the deciding vote. We're going to do this live, ladies and gentlemen. We don't... as you saw what happened when we go into a meeting beforehand, it can lead to all kinds of things. Desi, you can go first. We're going to name our Sunday Game Footballer of the Year. It's a live vote. It's just who the lads and those who've watched the games all season for the Sunday Game feel. So I'm going to make a note. Desi Dolan, your Footballer of the Year for 2015.
Jack McCaffrey.
Jack McCaffrey of Dublin. Tomas?
I'll follow Desi, yeah. Jack McCaffrey.
2 for Jack McCaffrey. Colin?
Yeah, well, I thought Philly McMahon was outstanding and James McCarthy, but I'd row in with the lads Jack McCaffrey.
3 for Jack McCaffrey. Kieran Whelan?
Jack was obviously excellent. I think it's very, very difficult. There was 4 or 5. You know, Bernard had a huge year. I'm going to go for Rory O'Carroll on the edge of the square. I thought he was solid right throughout this year for Dublin. Played a huge, huge role.
So Rory O'Carroll.
Rory O'Carroll.
Rory O'Carroll. Pat Spillane.
When Dublin play a high tempo, I think Dublin are unbeatable. They're the best team in the country in transition. They're the best team in the country at counter-attacking. That attacking half-back line is unbelievable. It's the key. I think it's the key line in that Dublin. And the man with the Rolls-Royce engine and the driving force from that half-back line, I think, is Jack McCaffrey. He's my man of the year.
Okay. There's a lot of Rolls-Royce engines going around here. We're like Leyland.
They're good engines. They're good engines.
Kevin, your footballer of the year?
Yeah, to kind of echo the point Cullen made about overall contributions and consistency and someone that's there all the time contributing. I went for Kieran Kilkenny.
Kieran Kilkenny.
I thought he made a major contribution every game he played. Scored very well in the championship this year, and today. He didn't get a major mention, really, but the amount of dirty ball and breaking ball that he got on today, didn't score, but he did a lot of work today. But his year overall, very, very constant.
That's 3 dubs. And Joe, your chance to rail.
Players like Kieran Kilkenny, he's a very lively wing half forward, but he's not a dominant person. He's not a dominant Gaelic footballer. You know, the way someone like Tomás O'Shea was, for example. Rory O'Carroll has been very dominant for Dublin. I mean, I thought that Aidan O'Shea was a wrecking ball this year, and it took 3 dubs to stop him. And a strategy from Mayo that allowed Aidan to sink or swim on his own. I mean, I think he'd be a very worthy player of the year.
Aidan?
I think so, yeah.
OK, great. OK,
so he was a wrecking ball throughout, and if Dublin had tried to man-mark him one-on-one, I mean, you can imagine the consequences there.
All right, so 1 for Aidan O'Shea, Kieran Kilkenny, Rory O'Carroll. Well done to all of you, it's an honour, but what an honour for our man from Clontarf, your neighbours, Jack McCaffrey. Congratulations to you, and it's a big honour for him, obviously, to win that. Jack McCaffrey, the Sunday Game Footballer of the Year, he's only 21. So shocking.
You know, and the debate and argument that went on was fantastic. But in the end,
who did we give it to?
Well, you weren't Michael. Michael will reveal all in a moment. But our first nomination was Rory O'Carroll, who was fabulous today. It's about today's match, rock solid. Paul Ganey first. Then the Kieran Donny and Tom did the Donny factor. He handled it, gave it Wata the whole time, and was a constant for that Dublin defence, because it was about defences today. Brian Fenton, you've spoken about him, Kieran. He was, again, very steady. And that's been a feature of his performance all year. Very steady, very athletic. Like, what sort of a player could this guy become? He could become anything, you know.
Well, holding his place there.
Got his goal, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really strong performance. And our third nomination was Philly McMahon. Marvellous point. I did that in the earlier piece of analysis. Up and down the field, and a serious contender for man of the match.
All right.
And Gooch did well to hold him to a point.
All right then. Well, they are the nominees. So let's go back to Michael now and hear who is our man of the match for the All-Ireland final of 2015.
All right, Des, well, I can tell you that they have just announced over the public address here at the hotel that the man of the match is about to be named. So we better get this right from a Dublin point of view, I suppose, anyway, for a start. Here to make the presentation with us once again is Oakthorne Common Lucas Scale. Egon O'Fee is here in front of you. You are about to present it, and I am about to make the announcement. And I can tell you that the winner of the Man of the Match award from this year's All-Ireland final. The trophy actually won't have to travel too far, Egon. Just out the road, in actual fact, to Raheny. And that is to Dublin midfielder Brian Fenton as our Man of the Match, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a brilliant shot in the background there of Bernard Brogan. Go on, Fento. That was great. Yeah. In between us. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Brian Fenton. Kieran, you know him since he was a young fella.
Yeah, I remember him growing up in the club. Des, you know, he played on a special team that came through to Raheny. I'm sure the clubhouse is rocking tonight. His mother Marion, I'm sure, is looking down on him tonight. As Pat says, his dad from Kerry, great kid, great attitude. You know, he, as I said, what I loved about him when he came on the Dublin scene is he just kept things simple. He didn't try and overcomplicate it. You know, he very controlled on the ball, doesn't give give it away. You know, 22 years of age, didn't play minor, you know, won an under-21 title last year, but by God, he's got a great future ahead of him, and it's a fantastic day for him, I suppose, and the club back home in Raheny.
And it probably confirms Colm's thing. If Kerry aren't winning the sneaky All-Ireland, they're getting a sneaky man of the match. Can they get in and everything?
When you look at all the Kerry connections on
Absolutely,
the Dublin team.
yeah. Well, congratulations to Brian Fenton and to the Dublin team, and of course the miners of Kerry. Let's go back to Brian now and hear what he has to say to Michael.
Well, as you can see yourself, Brian has joined us up here on the podium, and Egon O'Farrell is about to make the presentation of the trophy to our man of the match from this year's final. Brian, many congratulations. Yeah, you can leave that down for a moment. They are heavy, those things, aren't they? Look, to receive the Man of the Match award is a big honour from the final, but obviously having that All-Ireland medal in your pocket is the main one.
Yeah, Michael, it's been an absolutely surreal year, to be honest. To be called into the panel in the first place early on, well, last November really.
Yeah.
To go on and win the O'Byrne Cup with the lads, to win the Leinster with the lads, and then to win the All-Ireland with the lads is just the National League, of course, as well. But yeah, I suppose it's been an absolutely surreal year, but it's been a pleasure to share that with the lads and Jim as well. So.
Brian, people were picking out Dublin to be championship favourites from earlier this year. Did that put under more pressure on you, do you think, to actually deliver on that promise then?
Well, I suppose yes and no. You know, the lads had a lot of drive from last year. Obviously, the result of the last year, and you know that was always something that played in our mind during the year. And we obviously wanted to go on and do bigger and better things this year. So having that favourites title, you know, wasn't too much on us. But we wanted to drive on this year and bring home the Sam. So that's what we did.
We were talking earlier on here on the programme to some of your teammates, more experienced teammates. Stephen Cluxton, of course, your captain. Also, the Brogans were here with us. And they are, if I may say so kindly, the old guard of Dublin. But there's a lot of young lads like yourself have come through.
Yeah, of course, yeah. There's a lot of young lads there. We're lucky in a way to have such good talent coming through. But it's been a pleasure to play with the likes of Stephen, and you know, they were my heroes growing up. Absolutely. I stood on Hill 16 last August watching them lose to Donegal, unfortunately. But you know, so yeah, to play with young lads coming through and to play with alongside those lads is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well, you have joined them in being All-Ireland champions. You're going to enjoy the week?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, Brian, listen, many congratulations once again. Egon, thank you very much indeed for making the presentation. I can tell you, Des, that down here at the Gibson Hotel, half Dublin is actually outside the hotel, and there are plenty in here, I can tell you. It's going to be a good night.
Yeah, I have no doubt.